Hello? Can you hear me? Hello? Yeah, I can hear you. By the way, the best Christmas movie is Die Hard. Hey. Yeah, well, I mean, you know. You gotta give them credit. You know, they adapt and overcome. And I live by the thought that you know, never forget Nakatomi Tower in 1988. My wife and I wear it every Christmas Eve. Actually watch it every Christmas Eve, and we have Die Hard T-shirts. So anyway. Yeah, well, Bruce Willis, when he was a little bit more lucid, was asked if it was a Christmas whenever, you know, if it was a Christmas movie or not, and he said it wasn't. Yeah. What do you guys got going there? That computerized voice. Who's in charge of answering it? Oh, okay. Yeah. anybody happen to open up your email? Okay. Yes, I can hear all of you gentlemen, one way or the other. We just had a riveting discussion on what was a Christmas movie. Is that Brian waving? You guys are all in the distance there. Yeah, okay. There you go. That's a bit better. Are you rolling tape on this?
Can he hear us?
Hello and welcome to the Ea Tolkien Society. I'm over here, Hawk Robinson, founder of the Ea Tolkien Society here in Spokane, Washington. We are an official Smial, that is a chapter of the UK Tolkien Society. We meet on the third Saturday of each month, generally, at least we try to talk all things Tolkien. And of course, that includes right now things like, well, although we're restricting spoilers apparently. That includes the Amazon Prime materials. So we'll be maybe talking in code or something.
Yes. Well, I have no problem with spoilers.
Right, but we want to be considerate of those who do. For those who do, we need to.
I actually don't care either, to be honest.
So, all right. So I'm Hawk Robinson here in Spokane. Let's go ahead and go around. Corey?
You want to start with me?
Yep, we'll just go around clockwise. We'll come to Gary last.
I'm Corey, and I've been here for at least 5 years, I think. And I enjoy, long walks on the beach. Oh, wait, no, that's not what I meant.
It's been only 5 years, Corey. It feels like longer.
Yeah.
Too long.
Thanks. Anyways,
Because it's been great.
I enjoy even being wrestled by these three guys.
Oh, yeah.
All right, well.
And the guy next to him who's wearing the Eye of Sauron hat. Actually, this is what we use sometimes for role playing.
And is that the Merp Eye of Sauron? That looks like the Iron Crown Enterprises Eye of
It
Sauron.
might be, but we made it for a hat that one has to wear when we are playing the One Ring role playing system.
Nice.
And
Yep.
If you make a critical fail, but if you are miserable and you roll the Eye of Sauron, you put the hat on.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
nice
yeah.
touch.
Yes. I do not like that cone of shame. My name is Brian Usland, and I'm the secretary of this Smile.
Thank you, Brian.
The man of letters.
Hear what he has to say.
Hello, I am Anthony of the East Farthing, and I've been dwelling in this part of the Middle Earth for, about 5 years now. I've been a fully fledged Numenorian since the beginning of last year. I think that's when it became a full member of the Tolkien International Society. Always looking forward to hanging out with my Tolkien buddies and just getting to some long, nerdy conversations.
Wonderful. Welcome, welcome. And joining us remotely.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. This is Gary Hagelin out here in the Far East Farthing. Not the Far East.
East of Washington.
Asia, but it's east of Washington, east of Spokane. So I figure if Chris can be from the Misty Mountains in an area where they don't have any mountains,
Yeah.
I can be the far east Farthing.
Yeah. Well, I think he usually says South Farthing, but yeah, every now and then he does do that.
Okay, well, South Farthing, southeast Farthing.
Okay.
So Gary, does that mean that Montana is Mordor?
And if you could have, Brian and Corey and Anthony speak up a little bit, those mics seem a little bit
Yeah, can you hear?
weak.
Okay.
I have it right.
Really?
Yeah, I have it right here, Gary.
I had to turn them down a little because they were blasting on the stream so loudly.
Okay. I'm having. Well, let
Let me
me
do it. A sound check.
because Hawk, you're sounding good.
Yeah, but I'm in, radio voice, so.
Yeah. You normally
Yes.
sound good.
Yeah.
Thank
you.
I'm turning up the volume here.
Okay.
3 rings for the Elven Kings under the sky.
If that's not enough, I can turn them up louder.
Okay.
Oh, you know what I think it is? I think the ASIO doesn't route the other mics through to him. That's probably what it is.
You're traveling through another dimension. A dimension not only of sight and sound, but of mind.
Oh, wait.
I like that. I like that a
Are
lot.
you hearing any difference there, Garrett?
3 rings for the Elven
A
Kings
little
under the
bit,
sky.
not a whole lot. Well,
7
Brian
for the Dwarf
sounded
Lords and the Halls
pretty
of
good
Stone.
there.
9 for mortal men, doomed to die. 1 for the Dark Lord,
On his dark
Yeah,
Yeah,
throne.
okay, that's
in
better.
the land of Mordor, where
the shadows lie.
It's only doing channels
Why are
1
we
and 2. That's why.
reading the whole thing?
It- it-
For voice purposes?
It sounds more noble than check.
yeah, exactly, right?
Testing.
Aren't you supposed to be reading in the black speech the whole thing? Anyway?
Ajnaj.
No.
Did Tolkien come up with that in the bathtub, the black speech? I think
In
he.
the back.
Yeah, seriously. I think he said in the 1968.
Great things.
Yeah, he
I'm gonna have to.
I think
fact
in that 1968 BBC interview.
check. Okay. Well, clearly we all need to go and watch that now.
Yeah.
because my
Was
interest
it a
is
bubble
piqued.
bath?
It was his
Does it make a
eureka.
difference?
Yes, it was his, that was his Archimedes moment.
One, yeah. One, one ring to rule them all. One ring to find them.
One ring to bring them all, and in the darkness find them. In the land of Mordor, where the shadows lie.
Okay, so can you hear me, Gary?
Not really a spoiler,
I
but
I can hear everybody now.
I
It's
saw what I
great.
did there.
yeah, the last song in that season is that
Oh, it is?
rendered as a song, and an interesting melodic choice. And I say that with quizzical eyebrows because I'm not
Because
counting.
he's a music guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a music guy too, so I'd probably find it
Hmm.
quizzical.
Well, welcome
They went
everyone.
with the
Can we?
dissonant jazz chords. kind of
Seriously?
with it, kind
Shall
of-
we?
Yeah, go ahead.
Shall we have an official start or?
Yes, please.
Yes, let it begin.
Excellent. Welcome everybody. That we've had introductions, but now, with your permission, I will read the notes.
Permission granted,
Thank you. Thank you very
Mr.
much.
Secretary.
Make it so, number one.
Apparently,
Make it so.
apparently, yeah. Hold on just a second. Actually, with all my quoting from,
And you did email them to me, right?
I did 2 days ago.
Which email?
I did.
I swear I saw it.
I sent it to the Enterprise one because the other one wasn't working for a while.
That's why. Okay. I was
So-
in all my Tolkien emails.
So are these mics working right now or no?
They are for the stream,
Okay.
and then that's more for Gary's.
Okay.
I mean, I'm afraid it's gonna be a little echoey, but
So should I have sent it to both emails?
no, it was fine. It was
Okay.
it wasn't my imagination that I saw it. I just
You did see it.
I had a sourcing error.
Got it. No problem. Tolkien Society notes for September 17th, 2022. Gary, Chris, Hawk, Corey, and Brian attended. Brian read the notes to our August meeting, and we had a long discussion about the Rings of Power show, which at that point, this is now, remember, only a month ago, we only had been able to see episodes 1 and 2 that had just released. They had just dropped right before our meeting. So that's
Are
interesting.
we on 7? Is there 7
8.
episodes?
Eight
They
episodes.
just finished the series last night.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Season
the
finale.
season.
Yeah,
Yep.
season finale last night.
The
Uh,
only reason why I haven't watched it is I leave it for Richard to
Okay.
watch.
Okay.
Okay.
Going back to the notes. So,
Sorry.
Rings of Power show. This was a month ago. Everyone gave their opinions on a scale of 1 to 10, from 3 out of 10 to 8 out of 10. That was the range. So quite a bit of range. Of pretty disappointed to let's wait and see to cautiously optimistic.
Where was I on that scale?
You were kind of in the 5 or 6 area.
Yeah.
At the time, and you said, well, let's wait and see.
Yeah.
And I was, I think, in the 7. Anthony was in an 8.
Yep.
And I think Gary and Corey were kind of in that 3-4 territory.
No. I said
You were
6.
higher. You said 6.
I-
Gary
I-
must have been the 3.
I was a
4
bit more
students.
negative than I should have been because I felt came
I
across.
was hopeful, if not optimistic.
Right.
My
Yeah, I was
scores
I was the Debbie Downer here.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gary. Gary.
No wonder you live so close to Mordor, Gary. Just joking.
And now we know how that was.
The Southlands.
Oh yes. So let's. What we'll do is we'll get through the what we said last time about Rings of Power, and then we can either piggyback on it then during the notes, or maybe just finish the notes so we get them done, and then we might kind of just skip. Kind of plan to discuss that because I think everybody might want to make some comments on that. So anyway, just briefly, we talked about fan baiting online. It's kind of got its own ecosystem of various and sundry opinions, attitudes, and what would you call it? Monetization.
Feed the
Yes.
trolls.
Setting.
Throw them a bone so that they can gnaw on the bone.
It's a quick.
Everyone's trying to throw you off, Brian.
Sorry, yes, I am getting thrown off by all of you. Thank you. Rather be surrounded by a bunch of Nazgul. Anyway, so setting. The 3 things we said about the setting is that they set the tone, scope, and flavor well with gorgeous visuals. Numenor was very good. The atmosphere of Middle-earth is fairly successful. The characters, at the time we said Galadriel, there was a discussion of kinslaying event was skipped, so why would she want to stay in Middle Earth and not Valinor? I think we learned more about that since then. But changed her story arc to some extent. We had kind of a little interesting discussion. I have not done the research that I need to on this, but I want to come back to this maybe next month. And that is, Hawk and I and maybe others shared different motivations for Galadriel. Was the reason why she stayed in Middle Earth because of the shame? That was kind of, I think, Hawk's perspective on just knowing how that would have been very difficult. And there's some things to back that up. My perspective was more on her desire to seek out a place in which she could rule because she had a desire to have mastery, not in a Feanorian sense, but maybe a little bit along those lines. Wanting a place.
Well, didn't Morgoth? There was a couple of seeds that were planted before he was kicked out.
Very good point, Corey. Very good point. And as we know, no one is immune, right?
Right.
So less so than Feanor, but maybe influenced by that. Yeah. And then so we kind of talked about that a little bit. She's portrayed as kind of this grim warrior, and so we talked about that. We talked about how some of this is warranted, but also follows the politically correct trend as of late. And then we talked about Elrond, mixed responses about Elrond, and then Meteor Man the Stranger, mostly positive about how this possible Istari has been portrayed.
Oh.
And then Harfoots, we actually were very positive in how it was actually better than we expected.
Yeah.
And the
part
work going into the
Hobbits.
culture, probably maybe the best part. And I've heard a lot of different reviews, but we can talk more about that later.
Yeah.
And then, so that's setting, that's character, then plot. Plot was like maybe our hardest thing to swallow, kind of a wait and see approach. Much at that point had not been revealed a month ago, and we will have, I will quote this, we will have a better grasp of what they're doing after season 1 ends. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Oh boy.
Hold your thoughts.
I can't
Hold
wait
your
to
beer.
hear this.
We read Tolkien Letter 205, which was a delightful comment or letter where j.r.r. Tolkien was commenting on a Christopher Tolkien speech, and his dad was giving feedback on how good it was. Pretty encouraging to his son. You know, I mean, he was maybe a fierce critic for other people, but you know, really with his kids, he seems to have been fairly
Seemed to be a
loving, supportive father.
Well, but he was still easily distracted by something that's what I was kind of laughing about. Is
Really?
he was distracted, and we were kind of discussing the fact that it's like people who study font for a living. You know, they're driving down the road and they look at these signs and they're
the kerning is all bad.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know who you're talking about.
This is you know, for this show, it has definitely stirred the nerd rage.
It's
in
true.
Many people.
Many people. Oh, like
Even
Hornet's
those of us
Nest.
who try to
no,
go
I was
patience and
just-
love, patience and
Yeah.
love.
I'm just saying that Tolkien was, even though he loved his son, he still
Yes.
made a statement about
yeah.
how he was distracted by the way it was said or whatever because he's a philologist.
Yeah.
Attila. That was the quote. He was
Yeah.
distracted by the words because and it was really nice because he was complimenting Christopher, but he was also saying, you did a good job because if I had been doing it, I would be just like thinking about the words. And I love this quote from Letter 205 that we read last month, a Lord of the Rings reference. And so Tolkien said, nobody believes me when I say that my long book is an attempt to create a world in which a form of language agreeable to my personal aesthetic might seem real, but it is true. And as we've talked about many times on the Tolkien Society, the Ea Tolkien Society here, Tolkien is one of the very, very few fantasy writers who has ever constructed a world, a secondary world, around a language or multiple languages.
As opposed to the opposite.
As opposed to the opposite, where usually it's create that world and then fill in the gaps with language, etc. So he is
And usually the language is sounds good, but it's not. It doesn't have any depth or meaning usually
right for
in,
many fantasy.
in a lot of fantasy.
And not usually. I don't know. I've never heard of another author that has ever done that. It may exist. Has anybody? Have you ever heard of any other
Well,
author?
he was
who
a
started
unique guy.
writing?
He was
Well, that's the thing.
Right.
The correct use,
Indeed.
to be pedantic about language,
Oh, good
the
grief.
correct use of the word unique, which is so, like unprecedented and unique and very unique and
One of a
yes,
kind.
exactly.
One of a
Yes,
kind.
So abused.
He is, isn't he? Though
But he may
It
very
fits
well
with-
be,
it fits with Tolkien.
unless somebody finds an example.
I think
I'll
we
look
need
for
to
one.
He broke all the
consider.
rules.
So besides looking up Anthony's bathtub reference, we need to also look up, please, we need to maybe talk about this next month. Is what about that? Can we find? I'm not going to put out any money reward out there, but
Aw.
$1,000 for anyone you can find. But
Well, I
we
don't think even Shakespeare. Shakespeare probably had a specific world that a lot of fantasy writers have the plot in mind. They're not thinking about the language that
Like-
needs to be at the heart and the substance and the
It's
foundation.
second thought, isn't it?
That's
Or-
yeah. So it's
Like,
usually
it's
they
on the
have
screen.
some concept of plot, but they don't have.
Yeah. Or maybe instead one of us could be the next author who
No.
comes.
Oh, I see. Look to the future.
Challenge accepted, right here.
Okay, very good, very good.
Anthony,
Well,
you better do it
It
then.
certainly is a pathway that is less taken,
Yes.
and is maybe something that is even itself a great question. Is if more authors were to take that route, and I have to say again, I'm sorry, I'm talking too long here, but I do believe
Yeah.
that lots of people know of Tolkien. Few people have read Tolkien's essay on fairy stories.
Yeah.
And I believe that you really don't. You can appreciate Tolkien and his work, his mastery, his genius, but until you read his essay on fairy stories,
Right.
you don't really understand the man. I think that really does give you a window into his psyche a bit. Okay, to finish the notes, and the secretary will stop rambling. Our next meeting is Saturday, October 15th at the RPG Community Center
And here we are.
at 101 North Stone Street, Spokane. Indeed. I'm afraid we did not pick a past influence on Tolkien last
Yeah,
time.
we were going to, but you left early.
And I did leave early. And apparently...
Everything falls apart.
Yeah, everything fell
Wait,
apart.
that sounds kind of Sauronic. Or is it just ironic? Call me Iron.
Uronic.
Ironic.
Okay, sorry, I'm snorting. I shall...
It's so twice today.
I did, actually.
I'm on a roll.
Didn't know you were counting.
He got sleep. He drank some.
I did get sleep. I am feeling happy.
Yes.
Now, we shall, therefore, now that the notes have been read,
Yep.
open it up. Usually, Hawk, we open up for new business,
Yes.
new topics. Let's save the bombshell
Yes.
/ elephant.
This
in the
is
room.
new business.
The Moomaw kill in the
Open.
room.
Yes.
Everybody raise your hand. New business, old business. I don't remember the
The
movie.
Robinson rules.
No. The movie The Majestic. He comes into into the room and they're doing old business, and one of the guys is like, "This is new business. We have to second it first before we can move on."
That's true.
Everything's
It's a great movie, by the way. I love that movie. That's great. Okay, so we don't thankfully have to use Robertson's Rules of Order or Disorder, as the case may be. But besides, order can be abused, can it not?
Indeed.
Indeed. So we shall.
Babylon 5 got that to the fore.
Oh man, I still have never
That's
finished
just
it.
like more.
I still need to
For a
watch it.
guy who struggled with organization, though, order does help a lot.
Yes. Me too. Any new business? And I think actually Chris Cooperstein was hoping to be here, so he might walk in partway through.
Chris!
Sorry, Sarah from Italy. You know, she joins us from time to time, but it's understandable. It's the middle of the night for her.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're always grateful when she can make it, or some of the
Yes.
others from the UK or Denmark and stuff.
To be honest, I
We
haven't.
miss you all.
Yes, I probably should
Oh,
have sent you a reminder. Who's on?
Money G. Hello, Tolkien scholars. What did you think about season 1 of The Rings of Power?
Oh, we will be.
We're getting there here
We'll
soon.
get there.
Give us a few minutes.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Yep.
For,
5
for
minutes,
those
Robbie.
of you who haven't, for those of you who haven't seen the last episode, it does answer some important questions. That's all
Sure.
I'll say.
Yeah, it wraps up what they were, where they were heading.
Yeah. Can we boost Gary's sound at all, or is that a little
It
too high?
microphone is cranked all the way up.
Gary,
so-
are you able to bring your microphone
Let me
closer
just
to
see
you?
here.
I can.
Well, that's
lean
fine.
close-
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, it's more on what he's sending.
No worries. Well, not a
Yeah,
Yeah,
problem.
so
don't,
much.
yeah, don't worry about it. I was just too comfortable there. And now
You
I
be
got to sit
comfortable.
forward.
Please.
Well, it's the Clint Eastwood thing. You'll listen more if he's quiet.
Yeah. I will listen more carefully, but I really like to hear what Gary has to say. So,
Yes.
and I am.
So
I
we'll
am
get there.
hearing impaired. So,
So Money G, we will.
Yep.
We will get there.
tune in. 5 minutes, max, I think.
We're all raring
new
to go.
business.
New business.
So of course, already starting on plans for Tolkien Moot next year.
Yay.
Third weekend of July, if we can actually put it on, or is that going to be possible? Do we know yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
I will be working on my master's degree, but I will not be going anywhere on any road trip.
And
for
I
the
will.
foreseeable future.
By then, I'll have a master's degree. So.
Ooh, maybe you could run a table.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. So we're also going to have a new convention here starting next year, which is the RPG Festival.
Ooh.
Because SpoCon, which is coming up the end of October, right, this last weekend of October, is SpoCon. It is the last year of SpoCon. That's the sci-fi fantasy convention. It's
Why is it
2
ending?
years. COVID bankrupted them, basically.
Oh.
They kept booking the hotel, and then the state mandates didn't let them run, and the hotel didn't give them back all their money.
Oh.
So each time they're a nonprofit, and they use the money to get books for kids and stuff like that, at schools and libraries and all that. So anyway, after several years of that, this is the last of their money.
Oh
so,
man.
One more casualty.
So this is a whole bunch of conventions went over the last 2 years, and that was the last big one that was here. So they're going under. So
That's
now they were a
disappointing.
broader sci-fi fantasy convention.
Right.
RPG Festival is going to be focused on role-playing games.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
And won't be as big because the facilities are not that big yet.
Yeah.
The maximum table capacity we will have potentially is 11 tables, and that's assuming game masters to run them and
Yeah.
all of that. That's still 50, 60 people. I mean, so it's
With one bathroom.
a small. We have 2 bathrooms,
Two.
and there's a third one here that just has to be fixed as well.
Okay.
Cool.
So by then, so that will be in June. That will be the last weekend of June, and we'll probably roll the RPG conference, which is the researchers conference we've been doing each year, mostly online of late. We were doing it at EW. then
Nice doing it
online.
in person, yeah.
Yeah, and so we might roll that into. The reason why we chose June is that's when they do International Tabletop Role Playing Game Day and
Oh yeah.
month and all that. So
Yeah.
we figured that's the right month to do RPG Festival. And so it'll be 50, 100 people rather than 1,000 people like SpoCon. But it'll be something.
Yeah.
but it'll be focused on role-playing games.
Yeah, this will be fun, I think.
And you know, if we can get more money for more facilities, then the following year, who knows what happens. And by then, hopefully, the museum will be open too.
Yep.
We're hoping.
I'll be sure to keep donating.
Yes, thank you. We did get the big donation in a couple weeks ago.
That's
from
great.
Dimension 20, $28,000
Wow.
from the wonderful folks at College Humor, Dimension 20 Dropout.tv.
And are you allowed to say out loud on online, like, what was how much of a donation did we end up getting?
28,000 something.
I didn't
Yeah,
get it.
yeah,
That's-
around 20,000.
Oh, that's great news.
Yeah. It's not the 45,000 they were pitching, but it's better than the 10 or 20,000 we were worried.
Yep.
It will give us 6 months of paying rent, utilities, and insurance. So we're able to keep the lights on for 6 more months to the public.
Yay.
Woo! Sign language, yay.
Jazz hands.
But we need to do that again if we want to make it through the whole year. So, but that bought us some runway. We've got new staff coming on board, et cetera, et cetera. That will also help for and this all affects Tolkien Society here because it affects, like we will eventually have some AV people, instead of me trying to run all the equipment, there'll be people to help with the lighting and the AV and all of that as volunteers, and our streaming, et cetera, and getting on social media and putting the word out about the shows,
Right.
and our meeting notes and all of that I fall behind on. Okay, so there's that. There was something else, and it's slipping my brain. The One Ring role-playing game and the Lord of the Rings role-playing game. So this Sunday, Brian is going to be a guest on RPG Research's Twitch channel from 6 to 9 p.m. So it's twitch.tv/RPG Research, doing the One Ring role-playing game 2nd edition in Strider mode.
Which is basically their solo adventure.
Quotes.
Yep.
It's a little different. It's different from your typical solo adventure module.
Interesting.
So yeah, well, we've skimmed through it and went, oh, that's different. We haven't actually done it yet. So we're going to try to figure that out on the air. And so every Sunday, 6 to 9 p.m.
As Bill Murray would say, different is good.
Yeah. Every Sunday, 6 to 9 on our Twitch RPG Research is new games unboxing and evaluation. So we say new games in quotes, meaning it's new for us.
Yeah.
That's
We
really
just finished
interesting.
doing a couple on the Dark Tower reboot. And
That's
all
right.
That had it was very interesting and very expensive.
Yeah.
So we're doing that this Sunday. The supplement, is it the Eriador book?
Yeah, in Wilderland.
Yeah,
I believe.
No, it's Eriador.
Oh, it's Eriador.
The region book, John got in the retail store. Yeah.
We haven't received it yet.
No, we have not. He got it at a retail store here. They've already released it in the retail stores.
Okay.
This is what this is something the Free League is frustrating.
Is Eriador is that
That's all
second
we-
age Gil-galad?
Well, no, technically, Eriador is the whole region bounded on the west by the Blue Mountains and on the east by the Misty Mountains. So
Yeah.
you've got the Shire, you've got
Rivendell,
Oh, okay,
Rivendell.
but
Yeah.
I thought maybe that was.
and it's really a rehash, right? Just converted to the new system.
oh yeah,
So, but what's disappointing is it's already in stores. Those of us who are Kickstarter supporters, we help.
Yeah, that's
support
amazing.
it in
and
immense
actually
amounts.
fund it.
And Free League's been doing this repeatedly. This is not the first. They're doing this over and over. and
Yeah,
over
it doesn't
again.
make sense.
That I'm getting because I support Kickstarter. I get it months later. That's the opposite of how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
So that's my only real criticism of Free League is they're not really being considerate of their
Cubicle
Kickstarter
7 took a
supporters.
long time, but it wasn't like
But they
you
did it in
felt
the right
that you were
order.
second. Yeah,
Quotes, right order.
exactly.
We,
Yeah.
we were the first 75 people to have the One Ring First Edition, and we streamed it live. First 75 people in the U.S. to have it, and that's part of the point, right? You pay a little, you pay up front to help them get across, and a thank you as you get early
Yeah.
access.
You pre-ordered.
Yeah. So anyway, we pre-ordered the Lord of the Rings, which is the D&D adaptation replacement of Adventures of Middle-earth.
Yeah.
Basically, second edition. We're waiting for that to come out. So that's, I think, December is when that's supposed to be out. I think it's early December, just in time for Christmas.
Yay.
We did an evaluation of the game of the second edition. Unfortunately, it is not good for beginner role-playing gamers. It is not beginner-friendly. That's been a big problem with role-playing games in general, but specifically this one. We hoped it would. Their starter set is supposed to be a starter set. You should be able to be an experienced player and play and GM it. You need to have experience to run it.
Yeah.
So, and we've been running a whole bunch of community center. So, just keep that in mind. If you see that starter set and you want to like give it to your friend, your family member, or kid, and they don't have any prior GMing role-playing game experience, they're going to be really confused about how to run it.
Yeah, you still need to have somebody who knows things
And
well.
you need the rules too.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
It's a very
Yeah. So just a heads up on that. So, Tolkien related, gaming related overlap.
Where are water bottles?
Downstairs, down in the gaming area. There's a table there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there was something else, but that's.
We can come back to it later.
Yep.
Thank you, Hawk. Anything else, Anthony, news related or anything that you wanted to share?
Nothing Middle Earth related, I don't think.
Because you've kind of had occasionally because you've got those kind of updates from the One Ring.
Yeah, I get I get email updates from the One Ring. I haven't seen anything.
It seems like most of the oxygen in the room has been taken up by the Rings of Power.
Rings of
right?
Power,
In terms of what's going on out there.
Yep.
Aside from that, I can't think of anything. So.
There is a the Fall of Numenor book edited by Brian Sibley, who I think is a Tolkien scholar, illustrator, whatever.
Yeah.
That's coming out November, I want to say 8th. I've pre-ordered it. So yeah, that kind of coincides with what we've been discussing with the Rings of Power and all that sort of fun stuff.
Well, it's great to have that coming out because that way people who are curious and want to know more it's kind of like a one-stop shop, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it includes everything that Tolkien ever wrote on Second Age Numenor.
Excellent.
Stuff. It's all that good
That's
stuff.
a lot of these books that have been put out in the last 5-6 years. It seems like that's what they are, right?
Yeah.
Where it's whether it's Beren and Luthien,
Yeah.
or the book on the fall of Gondolin,
Yeah.
or the Children of Húrin, all those things. All the material has been put out there in the History of Middle-earth series.
Yeah, Unfinished Tales and other
Unfinished Tales,
publications.
etc. But this is really taking everything and putting it in one place.
Yeah, with illustrations by Alan Lee.
Really good illustrations. And I'm assuming, will it be Alan Lee?
Yes.
For the book in November.
Yes.
Great. Thank you, Anthony.
You're
More
welcome.
comments from the stream
Yes.
from Money O. I'm excited to hear our take.
Yep.
There's going to be a Tolkien convention. Yes, it'll be our 19th year of Tolkien Moot. So TolkienMoot.org.
Yes, 19. That's right.
Yeah, TolkienMoot.org.
19, wow.
It'll be our 19th year of doing the Tolkien Gaming and Literary Convention.
I missed this last year, and I was sad about it. Because
Yeah.
I think it was work that got in the way. So.
That's okay.
So
It happens.
The last 3 years have been a story arc on the
Numenor?
rise, peak, and fall of Numenor.
But
Yeah.
you guys are
Indeed.
still in Numenor.
No, we did it. We finished it.
Oh, we did.
Yeah.
Oh,
Escape-
yes. Or it finished us, almost.
That makes more sense.
That's
David's character.
Money G says, I recently saw an Airbnb that are Hobbit holes. I wonder if it will be close to your con. They kind of come and go. There's the one out, the Shire, out in Montana. Are they still around,
Nope.
or did they got shut down, didn't
Yeah,
they,
they shut
after
down.
the handover? So they kind of come and go because licensing and everything gets kind of ugly, but they're kind of fun.
Gary. Oh, sorry. Is there anything else?
Then they said there were some mic issues, so I've now mic'd up, and yeah, so that
check
was
and
solving
see.
that.
Hopefully, is that better? How is it going with the mics?
Yeah.
Hopefully you can hear us on there. Let us know how our
Oh,
sound quality is.
let me quickly say, I'm about to go hiking. It's the closest thing to an adventure I got going. If I miss your about the show take, I'll rewatch later. Always great to hear you guys. Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, the recorded videos are available here on our youtube.com/Tolkien Scholars channel, and our website is tolkienscholars.org. And we're here every Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m., third Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m. Pacific time, streaming live, and then the recordings are there. So, all right. Well, thank you for joining us. All right.
Great. Yeah, thank you. So let's go ahead then and if we can have a discussion on the Rings of Power, I think that's very appropriate since the season finale just ended. We can kind of decide how we want to set the parameters and how people feel about that. And,
Talking code.
or whatever. And then I think it'd be good if we could definitely get in, I think it's letter 206. It's the next letter in Tolkien's letters, and we can discuss that. And then we should probably discuss what our next, because we've been creating actually a really interesting document on all the really various influences on Tolkien as a writer that predate him, and so we're going to take each of these kind of eras of history, and I think we'll need to start that next month, but we should kind of decide on, maybe we can kind of even assign what months those will be, so that we can be more intentional about that, because that'll be a really fun discussion.
Yes.
So those are my suggestions for that. And Gary, is there anything you wanted to say before we start our discussion on the One Ring, on the Rings of Power, I should say?
No, but I'm looking forward to what influenced Tolkien, because Numenor is the obvious one, Plato and whoever else, and I want to hear that, and I've got some things to say.
Great.
So, how do I sound? Okay,
Now it's good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Fantastic. Thank you, Gary.
Yes.
I look forward to that. That'll be great.
Yeah,
Thank
me
you, Anthony, for putting together that Google document.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. Yeah.
So let's tread into uncertain waters, or swim through uncharted waters here. But we
Can I just say, I mean, there are some people who haven't seen the last episode.
Yes, let's talk about that.
I was just going to say that we can limit our comments to everything before that.
Okay.
And I think there's plenty to talk about. So.
There is. Can I just go around and let's just say how, without revealing anything about our opinions, just how far we have watched. Gary, have you seen the whole season now?
I have. We saw, my wife and I saw episode 8 last night.
Okay, and so have I, and I think Hawk has as well.
Yep.
I'm short the last 2.
Okay, you haven't seen the last 2, and then
I don't think I've seen the last 4.
the last 4. Okay, so I guess the first question we should ask is, do you need us to kind of just save that last one so that you guys don't know, or are you comfortable with us kind of just talking in general about it and with some spoilers? It sounded like you maybe didn't care, but
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me.
doesn't matter to you.
I'm okay with it.
You're okay with it. Well, then
Okay,
I'm
okay.
going to say let's just have a full discussion.
Yeah.
I'll
And
say
maybe-
spoilers
Let's go.
warning
I'm
here.
going to suggest this, but this is the teacher in me, so it doesn't have to be this organized. But could we maybe say the good, the bad, and the hopeful?
And the ugly.
The good, the bad, and the hopeful. In what, like, okay, what did they? Now that we've got the whole
Give us hope, all ye who enter here.
Abandon
The
all.
way is shut. It was made by those, yes. But if we could start with the good, even if it's brief.
Still like what's going on with the Hobbits for the most part.
Okay.
I think that, of trying the whole premise of how did the Hobbits exist without them being in the history books, quote unquote. They didn't just spring up out of the earth out of nowhere.
Like the dwarves.
Right. Well, the dwarves literally did.
Yeah.
So that's their creation story. But as far as we know, that's not the
Gimli
halflings.
said that's not true. That they didn't
But
just.
even the fact that the Harfoots, like, they're nomadic right now, and there's a premise in which, like, maybe it just brings
It
a
works.
delightful arc.
It works.
I
It
really
works.
think so.
And they've created, and again, that's where when there's spaces that Tolkien didn't fill in, that we go, okay, it's not breaking legendarium, you're filling in the gaps. And it's
Yeah.
your own version, and that's okay.
'Cause that's what it's
That's artistic license when you're not going directly against the
And
creator's
you're saying
creation.
this is where they apply their artistic license well.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, okay. I mean, would I have done exactly the same thing? No, we already did our version of it.
Yes, we did.
And Katie and her time traveling hobbit.
Poppy.
Poppy
yeah.
Small, bro.
But
Tolkien's fame.
but that's the point. Is that area was a safe area? Like, oh, we can play with this. We looked and looked and looked, and
That's
Tolkien,
the whole
there was
thing.
nothing that contradicted
Role
it.
playing, we love that.
And
in
you just
between
want the
space.
flavor to fit, and their flavor was okay. It was good enough. So I think the halflings as a whole, and the way they had all of their rule system to not, so they wouldn't risk the whole tribe,
Yeah.
if you will, because somebody, people they
Going
had
off the path.
they had a system for leaving people behind if they were going to jeopardize the whole group,
Which makes sense.
which is brutal, but plenty of
accurate.
precedent for that. Plenty of
Yeah,
precedent.
They were a migratory group.
Yeah.
They were a
Yeah.
migratory
And they
group.
were even
And,
generous.
and
even
also,
though- I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say one more thing, that I thought all the characters portrayed in the Rings of Power the first season, the Harfoots, and especially Nori and her sister, did the best character development, and the whole tribe there.
Yeah, they had the
I
best
thought
growth.
Did the best job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
In fact, it surprised me because I didn't like them at first.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Huh.
But again, there's something unexpected about hobbits, right? So we
Yeah.
see a little bit of that unexpected resilience or whatever.
Well,
Yeah.
I thought the leader of the Harfoots was at least compassionate, because even though that one guy broke his foot, her father, Nori's father broke his foot or whatever, he still allowed them to follow behind them. He could have just de-caravanned them, is the word they used.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds a little bit like...
Yeah, well, they were not meaning to be cruel. It was a necessity for them to not be wiped out.
Yeah,
Right,
survival.
But they also spent some time reminding everybody of the people that died in the past.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's
They
cool.
honor the
Which
dead. Yeah.
They honored the dead. Well,
Yeah.
there's a guy, he's famous on YouTube for medieval weaponry, and he has his own YouTube. He's called Shadiversity is what his... but anyways, he does not... He kind of thought that the whole thing with the Hobbits was too cruel, and that they were...
Plenty of precedent.
And I felt like that was way too critical.
So
I
let's
think of
let's
that.
let's go around. So Corey, why don't you tell us what you thought was good, and then it'll go to me, Anthony, and then Gary, and then we can talk about what each of us thought was poorly done. So, of what you have seen, Corey, of what you have seen, what is one thing aside from the Harfoots? Is there anything you want to say? I really like that.
Well,
Or
I don't
pass.
know. I think it's interesting that there was, and maybe some of you disagree, but I did think it was interesting that Adar, right, the father of the
The dark elf, yeah.
the dark elf, the fact that there's the guy that essentially was twisted by Morgoth, and essentially they call him, like the first, whatever, and they kind of, by using him, kind of make it like they try to tease you as, well, is this Sauron or is this Sauron? Like they don't.
Yeah,
just,
they do
You
that
think was
throughout.
done well.
Yeah, I thought that. I mean, it wasn't perfect, okay, because
You don't
but
have to qualify it though. It's okay.
But I did like
Yeah.
I like the fact that they used him. Maybe he isn't Sauron, but it showed that Sauron wasn't the only evil leading character, because the orcs kind of just follow whoever tells them what to do. They don't have a tendency to show too much initiative in leadership. It was just kind of interesting to see that maybe Sauron is coming back, but here's some leadership that was left behind by Sauron.
Sure. The minions.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Yes.
it was remember that I don't know where you are, but Adar, whatever his name, Adar, hated Sauron. He was a rival.
Well, he claimed he killed him, but we're not sure if that's possible.
Okay, well, I just took him at his word.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think Corey's point is well taken, that Adar was a very interesting character, and the exchange and the discussion with Galadriel when he's captured is, I think, a fascinating conversation. So that's worth really watching a second time. So
Yeah.
And I just want the other positive I was struggling to remember was, with the exception of Galadriel, and then my pet peeve about the height of the Númenóreans, I think the casting, it's a strong cast. These are strong actors.
Yeah.
It's not like Wheel of Time or Shannara or the last Doctor Who. Well, okay, last Doctor Who, they actually had a good cast. They had horrible writers and producers and all that, and directors, but the actors didn't get to shine. But this is a strong cast across the board.
Lenny Henry,
All of them are
so
really
good.
strong. They don't always fit what I personally felt. Some of the elves look a little weird from what I
we're
perceive.
straying into things that
But
So you're saying they did
but
cast-
strong
their
casting,
casting
good
is good.
casting, except for Galadriel
Right. Okay.
and the height of the Numerians.
All right. I'll take next, and we're just going around right now and sharing what we think they did well. I like how they're doing the dwarves. I feel like the dwarves are well done.
Well, go ahead. I was gonna say that
Well-
I like Durin and Elrond's.
Corey, why don't you let me finish my sentence,
Go
and then
ahead.
I want to hear your response. Okay.
Okay.
So what I was going to say is that in the Lord of the Rings, Gimli essentially was kind of he's there to kind of be part comic relief and part backing you up with his axe. When we get to the Hobbit movies, there's a lot more seriously, like you get more of that. It's not just a hint of Moria and what it used to be. This, you have more dwarves, you have more, there's something, you're taking more seriously, right? But what I like about this is that the portrayal of the dwarves, it gets more into the relationships, where you have this amazing, like, tension between father and son. You have a lot of, like, how do the elves and dwarves get along? We know that Tolkien imagined that there would be a rare friendship between the elves of Holland, I think it was, and or Eregion, and the dwarves of Khazad-dûm. So they really kind of show how this could work, and I do think that the casting of Owen Arthur as Durin the Fourth, the son, is really, really good. And I loved, of course, the eye candy, any of the shots inside Khazad-dûm. Because, of course, what you see in The Lord of the Rings is basically an extinguished kingdom. And we only really get to see the light of that when the Balrog comes
The
through.
ruins.
The ruins, that's right. And the ruins are something majestic, but you don't get to see them. And now we get to see Khazad-dûm as it was at kind of the height of its power. So I just want to say, love what they've done with the dwarves. And I like Disa. She doesn't have to have a beard. I think she's a great actress.
That's fine either way
Fantastic.
on that, yeah.
Fantastic.
Well, can I,
Oh, yes,
can I
please.
finish?
Yep.
Oh, I do agree about the beards. I think I'm glad they didn't do that, but
Either way.
it wasn't necessary. But I like the fact that Durin and Elrond actually have a friendship. And see, when you start with Gimli kind of starts out as kind of crotchety and angry because because of the betrayal of the elves in the past or something, that's been passed down.
The
generation.
Nalgrim, the
Yeah.
Naglumir,
Well,
the
whatever.
necklace.
The
Yeah,
that's
point
the
is that we're not even sure what Jackson is necessarily pointing to. That was the argument that
Yeah.
caused
Why
that.
was
He
it?
just he's just implying that there was some sort of
Almost ethnic hatred.
and what's interesting is we really don't understand Gimli's warmth until the very end of the Return of the King, because he's so adversarial in some ways with Legolas at the beginning of the deal. But here we have Durin and Legolas. I mean, not Legolas. Durin and Elrond, and they've got this friendship. And even though they speak differently and they understand things differently, I think it's interesting that they have a friendship. What's even more interesting is the Noldor were friends with Aule, and I've always wondered if Elrond kind of gave up on the whole rock breaking thing for the sake of his friendship. He didn't finish out. He could have gone a lot longer, maybe, than the dwarves believed he would have.
And that he actually.
But
says-
he
actually says
actually kind of gives in, and
Yeah.
I think. Anyways, my point is that there's a warmth between Durin and Elrond, and they make jokes, about him stealing the table from Gil-galad and whatnot.
Yeah. It's a lot of
I think that's a lot that than.
Yep, I agree. Anthony, I think it's your turn.
Yes, it is.
If I may
so I'm-
interject
Yes,
because
please.
we always want to
Yep, keep it
go
moving.
back and forth. Yeah. So from the chat room, Gary, this is directed to you. I wish my folks would watch Rings of Power. You're so cool. Hey! Shades and thumb up.
Thank you. Thank you.
I love the
Did it a
Harf.
long time ago, probably when I was his age, I guess.
Gary read them like first editions almost, eh?
Yeah.
No, not that quick, but again, 1965.
65. That's
Still before
read
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's, I wish my folks would watch Rings of
Yeah,
Power,
I see.
etc.
Watch it, yes.
Yeah, I loved the Harfoot arc. I love Elrond and the Dwarfs too. The wife was great, and then quoting Gimli at the beginning of the what he was citing: "Never trust an elf," right? But then, of course, they
Yes.
become fast friends. Yes.
But would you fight with an elf? Right. Okay, Anthony, what was something you felt they did well so far?
So far, I really like their visualization of Numenor. I felt it actually kind of exceeded what my expectations and exceeded what my imagination had come up with when I had read the Akalabeth from the Silmarillion and some of the unfinished tales.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I thought they did a really good job with the whole the setting of Numenor,
Cool.
as sort of showing a great maritime power and
Yeah.
I think they kind of what they did is they took what would have been scattered around the island and put it all there
Yeah.
in that bay.
right.
Kind of, they were trying to show all the majesty in one place.
Yeah.
So I think that's the effect.
But
Yeah.
they could have gone more vanilla. They were
Sure.
putting in like
Yeah.
Byzantine. I
Yeah.
think somebody even said possible Etruscan.
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 Yeah, but it was a nice distinctive styling and
Yeah.
Yeah, very distinctive.
Yeah.
Yes.
I want to see close up all the scenery because they pan over it so
They do.
quickly, and
Yeah.
you're like, oh wow, I would be the set geek.
more
for sure.
scenery
Yeah.
close-ups. Huh?
Gary, what was something
Were you finished?
really? Sorry.
Yeah, I was finished.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you appreciate? What did you think that the season 1 did well?
Okay, by the way, except for Hawk, you guys dropped out as far as your microphone. I could still understand you, but, you know, you all
You,
up here a little bit weaker.
Do we need to speak up?
yeah, you just have to speak up
Okay.
to this.
Yeah, Hawk's got the voice, you know, this
Well,
booming
yeah.
voice. So,
Is it only picking
yeah.
up from here or from somewhere else?
It there. So for recording and streaming, that's working. So the audience, that's working.
But he
For
can't
Okay,
hear.
him on Jitsi, he's only hearing these two mics.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
limit. It's a Windows operating
Is this too
system
high?
problem.
You want me to put it down lower?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
It's an operating system problem.
Got it.
well, if that's the limitation, I can deal with it, no worries.
Yeah, as long as you guys speak up, he'll hear you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
Gary?
like you guys, I thought the backgrounds were good. You know, I don't know, probably quite a bit of that is CGI, but you know, I have nothing against CGI. I think it's improved film and TV a lot. Other than, you know, the old time 1930s sets and stuff like that, Flash Gordon and, you know, space and the
Flash
21st
Gordon.
century and all, you know, whatever. The thing I liked about, you know, besides the Harfoots, and I did like the dwarves also, was the story started to go in a direction you knew it was trying to lead you. The first couple episodes was like scatter and miss and, you know, what the heck is going on? And you know, my thought back then was, yeah, he's got to cover too much, you know, they're trying to cover too much territory. I mean, you're talking the second age here. And they're trying to condense it down. So I thought they finally did get around to that. I've heard that they've lost a good, you know, maybe 20% of their audience over the eight episodes. But, you know, I don't know if that's true or not. But and then you can't please everybody, that's for sure. But I thought it was good. I mean, I've still got some problems, and I guess we'll talk about them in a little bit. But yeah, I liked how that was going.
So, Gary, are you saying that the plot improved over the season?
Yes, I think it did.
Okay.
I mean, they foreshadowed stuff, and they had scenes and situations that lent itself to what is going on episode 8, and probably,
Right.
you know, and undoubtedly next season, whatever. And I can see now where it's going,
Yes.
which I think I couldn't at the beginning.
And can we just give a shout out? You were saying the fact that they didn't just use CGI; they used other things as well. A shout out to
Sure.
the makeup artists. So we may notice that with the orcs, they weren't just this kind of mass of nameless orcs. These orcs, they really worked on making them more distinguished, more distinct from each other, more individualized. Even the j.r.r. comment you were making before there, they've really kind of brought up these ethical questions. Clearly these are the bad guys, but they're it's making it more interesting because it's this whole idea of a home for the orcs.
Yeah, do the orcs deserve a place in Middle Earth? I mean, that's
really a question.
I mean, I don't know. Would that be a Tolkien? Would Tolkien take that question?
He wrestled with this.
He did.
He did wrestle with it to some extent. Are they redeemable? Are they not? Were they created or were they twisted from elves or men, or were they just kind of anyway? That's another whole discussion. But
well, the only problem is if you believe that they have a place in Middle Earth, that might make.
Well, the problem is they want to take other people's place, and so then you end up, yeah. Okay, so let's transition on to the bad. Hawk, lay it on me.
We don't have enough time for the lengthy lists, but I'll go over the highlights. We already talked last time about the swimming and her motivation and the lack of the kinslaying, which is a core part of the entire elven relationship of the Legendarium. Without the kinslaying, a lot is broken in the entire storyline of the Silmarils and everything else that stems from that. The references to her brothers and all of that, and the death of her brother and all that. They don't, because they left out the kinslaying, that's very broken. And that, remember, they were there at the kinslaying. That was her pivotal moment of choice. Come back, we'll forgive you. If you go, you can never come back. That was that. So we talked about that last time. All right, so that's just like core broken motivation of the entire all the elven sects, the Galadriel and the others, their motivation for everything, and the entire arc of the Silmarillion. That's all. So after that, it's their own story. So I have a question. Did these writers work on the MTV Shannara series?
I have no idea.
Because there are direct elements right from it that are not from Tolkien that are in this series that I just go, oh no. And some of the style increasingly feels more like the really bad MTV Shannara. Now, John Rhys Davies, he did what he could in his role in that show, but it was a really badly done, and I liked the Shannara series as far as the books. And I was really disappointed with what MTV did with that. And that was a situation where you had some good actors, but mostly bad actors, and bad writing, and bad production, and bad directing. It just was not a very good series. And as this has progressed, it's felt more and more like the Shannara series because of the things they're introducing. So, I will say I liked how they. So the one who is actually Sauron,
Let's
right?
give it
Spoilers.
Spoiler alert. Pause if you don't want to hear this.
Yeah.
The real Sauron is Halbrand.
Halbrand. Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Yeah. Which I
Sweet.
kind of because
That
remember
actually-
it
that's
couldn't
actually
be
pretty
the scrawny scary guy.
Yeah, no.
Because he still has his fair form. So it had to be one of the people that was insinuating themselves into culture. It had to be somebody charismatic that was
So
attractive.
he let himself be beat up by a bunch of guys on Numenor?
Oh, it was all it's all a setup, right?
Okay,
It was all
well,
a setup.
anyways.
It was all part of his plan.
Okay.
And they do that okay, and they do a good job,
Jail next to Galadriel.
right?
Oh.
And they do a good job as far as he is a manipulator of minds. He
Yes.
is a deceiver.
Very much.
And they do a good job with that. And his suggestions that made everybody else think it was their own idea, unless they were queried by Galadriel, who started to have worries. She's like, wait a minute, was he there when you thought of this idea?
Oh, that was like,
Yeah.
oh.
Right. Well,
I guess I'm really gonna.
so I knew it couldn't be. I kept saying, starry, is it Gandalf or not? We don't know.
Oh, for the stranger.
Right, the stranger.
It's Gandalf.
And it's Gandalf. And they kind of went over the top, like with the moth thing, and they're like, okay, we get it. I guess some people you got to really hammer it in, like, yes, this is Gandalf.
It's the nod of Peter Jackson, like Silence of the Lambs. Almost
yes, it was.
See, I thought Sauron was like Adar or something, but it's not.
Right.
No, but it couldn't have been. I mean, again, unless they were just going 180 degrees from the Legendarium.
Because of the fact that he had scars.
And he has to be fair of form.
That is true, yeah.
And everybody trusts him, and he
Except
has to
for-
get near seats of power.
He,
Right.
he was never trusted by Gil-galad or
Elrond.
no. Well, maybe I thought it
Elrond
was.
didn't trust me.
I thought it was in the books or in the Silmarillion. I thought it was specifically
And Galadriel wasn't anywhere near him.
Galadriel and Galadriel and Gil-galad. Anatar came out originally, I thought, to Lindon, and they were
Right.
like,
And they're like, they felt something off about
something off
it. Exactly.
Then he goes to Celebrimbor, who's by himself,
Right.
and then it's like
And takes
oh.
advantage of that. But also, of course, all the many other elves, right, that he's lured in, and men and dwarves. He's lured them all into his teachings.
Build,
and all of that's
centuries.
gone.
Yeah.
And I know they're trying to do time compression, but they could have time compressed that. They could have given they could have given a hint of, oh, while I was away, while you couldn't find me, I was building all these relationships. They could have squeezed that in 15 seconds of a flashback to cover how the other rings and everything else are. Maybe they'll do that next season. I don't know. So, but how he did it as suggestions, that manipulative style, which is often how sociopaths and psychopaths will work to manipulate people to their will, I think was well done. To make them think that their whole ring making process was their own idea,
Yes.
which was okay. That little piece was okay. Again, but they skipped all the others that were influenced and impacted by him. That was I understand, but at the same time, really, really wonky treatment of Mithril throughout this whole thing. Their entire premise of Mithril, how it was created, and what it needs to be, what it does, and how to work with it, is completely. I don't know what they were smoking. It is completely out in left field. However, it isn't if you watch the Shannara series. The leaves of the trees with all the little veins of blackness and all that, that's almost directly out of the taint or whatever from the Shannara series of the Tree of Life and everything else. It's like it's not in Tolkien. That's not, other than Shelob and Ungoliant stabbing the tree and then sucking the life out of it.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen in Tolkien's.
The Wish Song. I mean, in the Wish Song of Shannara,
Right,
the third book,
right.
there's that tree.
Yeah, that's the Shannara MTV series is around that.
I've never seen that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think it would be.
It's really hard to
didn't
get
finish
through. It starts out okay, but it's really hard to get through. It's really bad acting, really bad MTV, really bad dude MTV acting. Just like,
hate
dude,
Sand, it gets
yeah,
everywhere.
wow, yeah. It's so bad. And unfortunately, these last few episodes, I was going, are these the same people? Did they get? I mean, Peter Jackson, I was worried because he did before was Dead Alive and stuff, and I was like, oh no!
And then it was way better than
And it was way better than I expected from him.
Well, let me ask
But you saw his Dead Alive stuff come in. He
I wanna
couldn't
ask-
resist.
I want to
was
ask
like, okay.
one question.
Yeah.
Because you guys are way more educated on this, but where did Mithril? I mean,
You mean Mithranium?
let's not go there. Where did Mithril? I mean, so
It's an ore. It was part of the Song of Making and everything.
So if you're asking,
well, but it's not mentioned. Is it in the first and second age?
Sure it is.
mentioned?
Yeah,
No.
the early dwarves.
did they actually mine Mithril before the Third Age?
The Nogrim, the Noglamir and
Noglamir
everything
is
was
made of Mithril.
what left
Oh, I
because
forgot
they took
about
the
that.
light of the Silmaril and fed
Right, but how rare is
set
this
to it.
ore?
So
Very.
I think the answer to your question, Corey, is that it was just treated as a very precious.
Well, it was the most precious ore to the dwarves,
Right.
and it was their secret thing.
Yeah, but it was. Never,
But it wasn't.
It was never, ever, ever hinted at as being somehow again this
Bound
is a
with the
very
Balrog.
This is a
Yes.
This is a very non-Tolkien way of dealing with
Yes.
this. magically
Yes,
created
yes.
element
Yes.
because actually all of Middle Earth is magical.
Right,
because
it's a Song of Arda.
And then you have, in a sense, that the opening sequence is so beautiful because what that when you see the black sand coming through, that is that whole Morgoth element, that principle. For sure, it's almost maybe more like this. Everything is good, and then you see the creeping in. That corruption the idea of the corruption, that's an age-old one, and I think it's not necessarily bad.
Yeah, no, but it was the specific implementation.
That whole origin of how Mithril came to be,
It's wackadoodle, completely wackadoodle.
You know what that
However,
ElfQuest.
Yeah.
At the very beginning.
Yeah.
When the one beast is created by. You actually have a saber-toothed tiger.
Yep.
And a bear fighting, and lightning strikes them, and it turns it into Madclaw.
Right.
And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, no, it was. It felt very much like the MTV Shannara folks, and I wonder
you're talking about
if they're the same.
The little section where they're talking about the Balrog and an elf or something are fighting over a tree, and the trees
make mithril from the lightning, and
that's correct.
But beyond that, their ongoing treatment of how mithril operates and functions is completely wonky. So, so that's why I say, did these writers have work on the MTV Shannara series? Because there's an awful lot of overlap. Because the sick trees of the blight, the story of the mithril, how mithril. So then, of course, now mithril's the only thing that can save the elves from the blight. The elves are not going back to the west because they miss home and the fading of the elves. They are going to be destroyed by the blight. This is almost identical to the Shannara series.
Yeah.
The visuals were almost identical.
Anything else?
It's just so then is Galadriel from Krypton? Is she supposed to be from Krypton? I'm serious.
Is she like Supergirl?
Did these people write for Superman or something?
Why?
She stands in front of an entire volcano pyroclastic flow, full on, walks into it, and is only knocked down and her hair's a little dirty and stuff.
That's it.
She should have been melted.
I was going to mention the same thing.
Oh my freaking! She's made she's from Krypton.
Okay, so
and
so because there will be other people. Who
I know. Just two more.
Okay.
Two more.
They're short. They're short.
Let's see.
So this is where I said the casting was great except for Galadriel. She has, and I was run it by a few others. I said, what do you perceive in this person? And pretty much universally, pixie-looking little elf, like fairy elf, not a regal-bearing, wise appearance or tall. None of the traits that are very descriptive of Galadriel. And I've had a couple of people just watch scenes of her without context, like how would you describe this person? Pretty consistently pixie-ish, fairy-like, cutesy, stuff like that. No impression of this great regal bearing that was, people were in awe of. And then finally, they were over the top about the red herring of the Stranger of Sauron with those Morgoth Sauron priestesses or Zigurum or whatever. Which is interesting that they did bring those in, right? I mean, that's something that we conjectured about.
Like that? I'm not sure I understand what you're saying.
They hammered it. They belabored it a bit, is all. So that's some of it. In the chat here, because I'm not familiar with the original lore. I love hearing the experts talk. Lore, okay. It's almost counterintuitive knowing too much and liking the show. Well, but I even if I didn't know some of it, there's just some core things that I just go, ooh, that's very adolescent. That's not mature, developed writing. Like it starts to the internal consistency, like because you have to enjoy the internal consistency.
Yeah.
And that is I'm struggling with even that. It's kind of like we talk about over and over. Peter Jackson. What he did with a few things that he broke internally.
Yeah.
All right. So that's my short list.
Okay. Thank you, Hawk.
So
he didn't bring the scroll out. Have you noticed?
Corey, do you have anything that you wanted to say? You shared a few things last time. Just if you could just briefly, we'll just go around and what bugged you the most?
Well, I mean, I don't know if I don't remember if the prisoners ended up growing beards, but the growing beards thing has nothing to do with the series. it just has to do with everything that has to do with elves. It feels like no matter what happens, for some reason, people don't like the idea that elves grow beards and that they're always got long, flowing yellow hair. And anyways, I won't get into that. But the thing that I really didn't understand at the beginning of this, and really kind of, I know we probably already talked about it, but having bullying supposedly in Amon is absolutely ridiculous.
It bothered you.
It really bothered me because essentially they can't.
Oh,
people
that's true.
can't imagine how it is that kids can be, compassionate and loving because we're always focused on the stuff that's going on in schools and stuff. And I understand that's terrible stuff, tragic stuff, but it's really ridiculous that we were making Galadriel out to be bullied or something at school. I really doubt that.
Okay.
But the thing with the tree with Mithril did kind of bother me because there is, in my mind, if the tree really is the thing that created the Mithril, then that means there is only one mountain of Mithril in the whole entire Middle Earth. That means that even if you did excavate all of it, you might not have enough to do maybe a few plates of armor, right? That's ridiculous. I do get kind of grumpy about the fact that the main characters are pretty much three women talking: Muriel, Galadriel, and Nori. And we now know Halberd is not anything good, and there's just not too many men. Even Elendil kind of they don't exactly they feel that Bilbo and Frodo were masculine enough that they had to make up for it to have the opposite sex take over so I do get a little frustrated because I feel like it's a little bit too focused on that.
Okay.
And
all right, thanks, Corey. I'm going to pass for the sake of time. I'm going to go to Anthony.
So, a criticism of the show?
Yeah, this would be just anything so far that you've seen that you felt was
I felt like there was some kind of weird chemistry between Elrond and Galadriel, I think, at the beginning. Like, almost seems like Elrond was trying to court Galadriel. When I think they were really meant all along just to be friends.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. And also,
Peers.
what's that?
Peers.
Yeah, peers.
Like
most
top
older than the
peers.
sun.
By the way, it's worth mentioning at this point that a big reveal was dropped in episode 7.
Which is?
That Celeborn, that she is depicted as being married. That Celeborn went into the wars in the First Age and never came back. So she's essentially a widow, as she thinks it. But there's a lot of reasons to believe that Celeborn actually might still be alive.
Yeah, and
who
just
knows? He could be a Don or whatever.
Yeah. Now that I'm starting to hear some of what you guys are saying, it seems like they're changing some fundamental aspects about the Legendarium that I'm starting to not like, and I'm siding more with the purists now a little bit more.
The creation of Mordor, I kind of liked that. I'll give them that.
Okay.
How they channeled it and created it. I mean, it was catastrophic creation, but I was like, I thought that was creative twist.
Yeah.
And it didn't. It fit the storyline of A Place of Their Own, all of that. Not canon at all. I don't know that it broke anything though.
Nope.
No.
So I thought that was
it had to be formed
creative.
from something that was good.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Of course, there isn't. I don't think there really is that much of a hard fixed canon for the Legendarium, just because the Silmarillion was never quite finished
Yeah.
in Tolkien's lifetime.
It
and
was. You're right. Christopher Tolkien took basically. He had to curate what to fit in and what not to.
yeah,
And then he
collate.
found 20 more years worth of stuff.
It came out with the history of Middle Earth and all that.
Good points.
Yes.
Okay, Gary, thank you for being so patient and waiting.
No, that's okay. Hey, one thing I wanted to mention was as far as Mithril. If you look at Durin III, the father, he was the one who kind of made a cautionary statement against going after too much and digging too deep. I
Yes.
caught that. And I thought that was interesting. Now, as far as things that could have been better, I agree with quite a few of the comments out here. I still have the opinion that Elrond's portrayal, how they have Elrond portrayal, he's a dweeb. I don't like him. Maybe it's the hair. I mean, it could be a bias I have for how Peter Jackson appeared and Hugo Weaving, who I thought just did a terrific job.
Yeah, me too.
You know, he was, and this guy is 180 degrees from that.
Yeah.
Of course, Galadriel is, she's probably 160 degrees from what we see in the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit. But they kind of made her into a female Marvel character. And I think the most outstanding example of this was when she was in Numenor and she just kicked the butts of, 8 King's guards? Like, it was nothing. Of course, they were very polite. They waited their turn to try and attack her. But still, it kind of amazed me that they're doing that. And I agree, I think
Dodging those arrows
oh,
on
yeah,
horseback.
Anthony, that, I mean, she's, this is a woke thing about, they made it, I guess, in many respects about 3 women, which is fine, except that's not how Tolkien really looked at his thing. So if you're a bit, and I'm not a purist, I like Jackson's movies, I love the books, and anyway, I was, tolerant of Ring of Power. I thought there was some really good aspects to it, but, it's like, okay, they seem to have too much of a play here sometimes.
Too much what?
A play, they're too prominent.
In line with what you're saying here in the chat room, go ahead and say it, too woke. Galadriel being a stronger character would have been enough. They said Galadriel surviving the volcano like that was ridiculous. Peter Jackson did nail the casting. It's tough comparing the two.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I agree.
And the elves were...
I admit I'm biased.
Yeah, like the elves felt more like Tolkien elves.
Yeah.
These other elves are weird.
I don't know. I mean, I want to let Gary finish because as we get into the hopeful stage here.
Well, I mean, that's basically all I have is, those were the aspects that I was like, that kind of bothered me.
Did they resolve Isildur's death?
No. I was really shocked that they didn't.
Now, because again, unless they're going to reject, I mean, they haven't shown his body, so until they show the body.
No, and his horse went back for him, so we
exactly.
know,
so we know it's a red herring.
Yeah, we know it's
unless they're just going to reject the entire ring arc of Isildur,
let's see how
Morgoth's chopping it off, and
they
may.
That's a bridge 5 miles too far.
I hope. Exactly.
But
that's what they're toying with. They're playing with us.
I don't think they are. I think they're just saving it because guess what? A lot of people have not read the books, so they're like, what? You mean Isildur survives?
Yeah, they don't know. Yeah. And then Muriel's blindness, and
that works.
I mean the whole Muriel going there and blindness and all of that. How did that?
Here it is.
I know there's a lot of time compression going on.
That could just be a different way of dealing with how Farazan takes power.
Because
instead
he
of
becomes
forcing her to marry him.
Okay, because they didn't want to deal with the ickiness of that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, even though that was so common in such noble circles. Yeah.
But that could be also leaning too far the other way into our fears that this would become too much Games of Thrones-ish, and it hasn't actually.
No, it has.
Not really.
I say it's more like MTV Shannara.
Well, maybe I don't know. Okay, so I'm gonna try to move us into the hope here. What I'm gonna say is this, and we'll have to keep this short because it is 2:30.
Yeah.
What I would say is we definitely have some good. We definitely have some stuff that we just think is really out there. Now that the first season's done and knowing where things were left, like, is there any hope for where this show could go? I'm going to say there is. They've made some choices that I don't agree with, but I think that a lot of it is maybe more like consequences. If we can't use the silver, if we don't have the rights to the Silmarillion,
Right.
we can't reference the kinslaying literally. So we have to come up with another way for this. Fine, okay, whatever. But there are different ways that you could get there. As it is, they had to create a situation in which there would be this desperation. What would motivate, with the time compression, a guy like Celebrimbor, because they'd already made these choices of, hey, we're going to have this guy. Sauron's going to be an unexpected character. He's supposed to be someone who doesn't have any past history, comes and kind of worms his way into the manipulation. So if he comes in, how does this set things up? It's not the way I would have done it, but I think it could be very interesting in that he can appear him as a man, can easily then sway 9 men who are up and coming.
Yeah.
I can totally see how this could play out with creating more rings and giving them to these 9 and the formation of the Nazgul.
And the Dwarven Fathers.
That could yes, the Dwarven Fathers. Now we almost have these subplots in which, if he makes in the second season the rest of the rings, we start to see that effect and how it starts to play out with the dwarves, with the they're not the elves so much because we've kind of seen that already. They're alert now. The elves are all going to be very much against anything he's doing, but now the things are moving. I am. I don't know. I'll stop here and then see what you guys think could be hopeful. I'm going to say that I'm actually more encouraged by the way Galadriel's character ended at the last 2 episodes than the first 6. Because I feel like what they're trying to do is showing that she's brash, she's headstrong, etc., all bent on revenge. And then she gets a major humbling. And we see that in...
Because she's the one who brought him to all of them,
yes,
and that's humiliating.
And just even before she knows it's
and she had
Halbrand,
pushed so hard.
She pushed so hard, and
then he really messed with her head.
Yes,
and all the sore spots.
The Adar Galadriel moment there with the discussion, where perhaps you need look no further for a successor to Morgoth than your own mirror.
Well, and they threw in some of the PJ, what was that Tolkien quotes from her, more powerful than that whole scene where if you give me the ring,
PJ's in our heads.
Yeah, well, I mean, was that a Tolkien quote or not?
Peter Jackson.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, when she said to Frodo, if you give me the ring, I'll be this. I know she said stuff.
Yes.
But if it's been corrupted by the Peter Jackson movies.
Nods to the Jackson movies.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. I'm nervous to say with that, but
I just hope.
But they clearly did. I mean, it was very much whatever that scene was.
Setting, I think.
Yeah. Foreshadowing.
To be
yes.
A sadder but wiser elf. She is like, okay, I have to let
because
go
they took Kinslaying out. They've
got
got
to the revenge thing.
Yeah.
I need to be much more circumspect about my own drive and ambitions, and so the ambition is tempered. I think this is leading her towards a future where a Galadriel who could be that wise, majestic person
and wants to retreat away from everything.
Yes,
preserve
exactly.
things.
Right.
So they still have to explain it.
Okay.
Was the Kinslaying not in the appendices? Because remember, the stuff in the appendices usually you can use.
I don't think it was.
Okay.
It's an unfortunate omission.
Yeah, I don't want to check that because that would be surprising.
I'll put it on the list. Okay, other people hopeful for season 2. Go.
Anthony?
I would say I'm hopeful for what they do to Numenor, kind of the Numenorian outline, and especially coming off of playing the Escape from Numenor RPG adventure, which was really fun.
Moot, yeah.
I'm hoping that they'll kind of stick to the broad outlines of what happens with the downfall of Numenor and how.
I hope they do the Eagles of Manwë and all of that.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
That would be cool. Yes.
Yeah.
I think more generally speaking, I'm hoping that they'll.
And I hope they have Sauron there when he's shaking his fist at the lightning and the gods and striking. That's the epic scene. They got to do that. Yeah.
But I'm hoping that they'll try to adhere to the bare outline and skeleton of, Tolkien's work, because it seems like, as you guys are saying, they're introducing some elements that I don't kind of agree with, like the origin of Mithril. Yeah. Like, what is this? Yeah. And some of
maybe second season there'll be a little bit more on it.
Yeah.
Krypton Galadriel.
Yeah. Well, we see that in a lot of movies. Protagonists, barely dodging a bullet. And
right. If it had been that, if she just even behind a building and lucked out like the other survivors, great.
Yeah.
She walked into it. She went.
Yeah, but she's dodging these arrows on horseback.
Okay, but she was dodging.
Yeah,
but Legolas goes down the stairway on a shield.
Yeah, but that was ridiculous too. I never understood how Jackson convinced us that they could do that. I mean, thousands of years. I don't know that anybody's convinced.
Okay.
Hopefulness. You want me?
And I am hopeful that they'll kind of develop Galadriel's character more. Because I felt that she, even though she, was portrayed as a strong warrior, she was rather reckless and headstrong. And
I think it's showing that was a mistake.
Yeah. I think it's more of a character arc for them to,
Not a character orc.
Not a character orc, an arc. Arc.
Well, I don't know. From the beginning, I've never been very hopeful about the series. Because I feel like Amazon is just like Hollywood. They have a tendency to take everything and.
So you're saying don't be hasty.
Don't be hasty.
Well, no. See, at least he's carefully waiting. I just have a tendency to be purely cynical. But no, I mean, the sad part is that it's not great, but it's passable. It's better than the Wheel of Time. And it's actually kind of sad that they've lost so many people, because I think that it could actually turn into a decent, maybe not perfect, but
adaptation.
But at least 6 out of 10, series. It's not going to be great, but it's
better than The Hobbit.
But yeah, better than The Hobbit.
Hopefully.
But there are so many references. There are so many copied dialogue from the Peter Jackson in the story. Like it's like this guy, he's gonna say something, but instead of saying it this way, they say it exactly quoted as if Peter Jackson's had written it in the movie.
I mean, the script. I will say this: the Lord of the Rings script. Much of it was taken from the Lord of the Rings.
Sure,
books.
right?
Yeah, for sure.
Tolkien,
and which adds so much to it. So some of these things that are clear Jackson nods visually, some of the script pieces might actually be from Lord of the Rings.
No, I'm talking about there are moments when there are actual Jackson quotes that are being used by some of the characters. So it's kind of frustrating in my opinion.
So Gary, what are you hopeful about?
Well, they keep, heading down to a recognizable story arc, and we find out, what happens. They've got, how many seasons left? 4?
There's 4 left.
4 left.
4 seasons?
And
there's 5 seasons.
Wow.
Galadriel, I mean, she did get her comeuppance. I mean, it was ridiculous. She could walk into a volcano. What do we call that?
I think we've established that.
Plasma,
Pyroclastic flow.
There you go.
He's the fancy scientist.
That's why we pay Hawk the big bucks. He knows those words.
Yes, he is of seismic significance.
I'm also hoping, because one thing I forgot to mention about what I thought room for improvement was the music. It's not, to me, it's not inspirational. Yeah. Not like Howard Shore did. I mean, when I hear the theme from the Lord of the Rings,
it moves you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is something that, even though this guy is supposed to be really good, Was it Barry McCauley or something?
Bear McCreary.
Bear McCreary.
McCreary.
Although Howard Shore does do the title sequence, that is Howard Shore.
Yeah, but it maybe Howard Shore, but he phoned it in that day. I'm sorry.
No, okay. I like the title sequence.
The opening title's fine, yeah.
Yeah,
it's
the
the
rest
incidental
of the music.
and ending.
Yeah. Okay, so Gary, you're hoping that the music will increase. It will be even better and more memorable and
inspirational.
Inspirational. Okay. All right.
Yep.
Hawk?
As and on that, among other things, as I did with all the Peter Jackson shows, I always said, more song and music.
Yes.
Tolkien loved song and music. His characters were singing and had music. The entire universe was created in song and music.
Yes.
More song and music in the story. So, and I was do remember that when the Peter Jackson movies were coming out and all that, I was like, more of that. And in The Hobbit, they actually they did the song in there that was actually pretty cool with them singing and more of that.
Hawk is now going to direct
And-
the Lord of the Rings musical.
That
With the
I would
Beatles.
not be the first. That's already been done.
No,
But
it's true that like the walking song, which was a couple episodes ago, I thought was very good. More of that, please.
right, exactly. More. So I'm hoping for more song and music in show. The end show music, I agree, has been uninspired.
Yeah.
Most of it, I just like, wow, none of that's exceptional. Again, it feels like the music from the MTV Shannara series. It really? There's a lot.
Except for like Deesa singing that one episode where Arondir and what's her name?
Bronwyn?
Yes, Bronwyn are escaping to the forest. They come out and then it transitions to Deesa's music, and that whole thing about the singing to kind of get a sense of where in the mountain where the good places are to mine. Again, it's almost like some episodes are written by different people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does feel disjointed and inconsistent.
Like some people are having more music and some are not.
Now, one thing I will say, I'm kind of okay with the kind of rambling, having the not resolved story arcs early, because that's Tolkien-esque.
Yeah.
Right, especially the Silmarillion. It's going to take a while to get, because you have to lay down all the foundations. Remember, he's got to begat everybody and what their relationships are and everything before we ever
That
get
sounds
to.
rude about Tolkien.
Well, before we ever get to Beren and Luthien and all those great story arcs.
Yeah.
Establish who the people
Yeah,
are.
he took a long time to get there to lay
Yes.
the foundation. As far as other hope, I hope that they'll work on maturing Galadriel to compensate for where they started with her. I hope that they do not cut our Pharazôn the Golden going to Mordor and making Sauron grovel in front of him and come back willingly, and then poison our Pharazôn as he ages, not just have him go straight to Numenor and be his advisor and poison him or something, is what I'm afraid they're going to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to hope that they'll do that,
because
that,
they have 4 seasons left.
so I'm hoping they'll do that.
War of the Last
They'll
Alliance.
take their time. Let Sauron do his harm. Our
Yes.
Pharazôn finishes coming to power.
Yeah.
Becomes the favorite. Builds the most powerful force ever seen on Middle Earth. Goes to Sauron. So he goes, okay, never mind. I surrender. You got me. Takes him, imprisons him. Then as he ages, the poison thing.
Well, doesn't Mark Pharazôn, isn't he already kind of suspicious about elves? Isn't he kind of pushing the non-elf line?
Oh yeah, no, that's in line with our Pharazôn. Yeah, I didn't envision him at this point as an already gray-haired, right? But again, time compression. Okay, I'm trying to set that aside. And I always, because he was our Pharazôn the Golden, I thought he was going to be more blondish, and that may have been my mistake.
Yeah, I'm not sure where the golden.
Yeah, I don't remember either. But and then have him be there on the island and shaking his fist at the gods as they strike down the island, etc. They've at some point is it Elendil or Isildur who sneaks in and gets the Nimloth? So he has to. There's just too many things that depend on him. Yes, where he sneaks in and steals the Nimloth. Yeah.
Steals the what?
So I'm going to hope for those.
Oh,
Before they cut down the white tree and
Yeah,
burn it.
because that's later where Aragorn finds it up in the mountains, and
right.
that's the passage of king. It passes the torch of kingship. As they talk about there is no king of the Southlands. He died 1,000 years ago. That's impossible. You can't. Their lineage was broken 1,000 years
And
ago.
then that line, I love that next line where he says, "I was." What does he say? Halbrand / Sauron says, when she says, "Who are you?"
Yeah,
And it's kind of clear that his cover's blown.
yeah.
Oh.
And he says, "I awoke," or he says, "before the first
elful.
evening."
Evening, yeah, whatever. First, yeah,
It
the
was just
shaping of
Yes.
yeah.
But
It's
so
just because
I'm
he was
here to
Ainur. He
heal-
was Ainur.
Here to heal Middle Earth.
Yes, and that twist,
Very
which
interesting.
is the usual. Try to make bad guys the hero of their
He's
own
like,
story.
Well, and he's also like, but look, I mean, Morgoth's hand is off my neck.
Yeah,
Now I can repair
Do it my
what
way,
I
right.
ruined with him.
yeah.
But of course,
But we have no way to know if that's
she
true or
said-
not. Of course.
She says, "No, you want not to heal, you want to rule." He says,
Right.
"I see no
No difference, yeah.
So that's nicely done.
Yeah. No, that was all right.
So maybe better development.
So I really need to see this
You
episode.
need to see
I did too. I'm just.
yeah, I mean, they did
Oh,
at
man.
least resolve what they were teasing with for that set, so that's good. They
Except for Isildur.
well, okay, but that's okay as long as they do that next. As long as they don't change the stuff. So the handmaiden, the artist that went up to the Palantir. What?
They didn't
What?
follow up from that at all.
What?
What?
Why?
I don't know.
What?
There's a few loose ends.
Yes,
But
and I'm
we'll
sure
find
they'll
out.
address that in the
I'm
next
sure
thing. So yeah.
that seems to be on purpose because
Yeah, it
because
was. That was
there
intentional.
are
Yeah.
things that somebody's been doing as a consultant in the
Yes.
backdrop. For example, the Namarie Elrond says it does not mean goodbye.
Right.
It means that
Does not just mean farewell, my friend. It
may
also
good be
means
with you.
yeah.
And so actually that it turns out is in issue 17 of PE Parva
Parma and Dorian
Parma and Embellarion.
and Balarian. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one.
Holy
It
crap.
says in there that there
We
is
have
a,
those.
That's a lesser glossed. There's another gloss on it, which is not Namarie, but Namariello or something like that,
Mhm.
which basically means may good happen to you.
Mhm.
So it is conceivable. So
Yeah.
somebody's doing
They
their
have some
homework.
consultants. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whether or not they follow up. In the chat room, I'm excited for season 2. I'll watch! Exclamation mark. The eye candy, sets, costumes, cinematography has been stellar.
Okay.
You
So
know, we
need
should
to-
have known. We should have known Halbrand was Sauron
Because?
when he created a piece of metal in Numenor that impressed the Numenorians.
Yeah.
That's when we should have known.
Yep, that
because
was the giveaway. That was the
Yeah.
tell.
Because how could a guy who lives in the uncivilized
Yes,
Southlands
that was the big
know
tell.
that much about metal craft?
Yeah.
Metallurgy.
Yep.
Let's shift to Tolkien Letter 205 if we may.
Uh-oh, if we
Well,
make
did you
it.
want to cover your
have
hope?
any
We have time if we get to it and stop discussing
Okay,
it.
good.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta run and get my book.
Okay. I think because otherwise we're not letting
Go
Tolkien
ahead.
speak to himself
Go ahead.
at all.
T-
But I don't
Speak
have
to
to read.
himself.
Speak for
You're
himself.
getting so excited today.
Well, I got to get a word in edgewise, which is a little difficult with this group,
Yeah.
and I'm just as guilty as anybody. So yeah, if we can go to letter 205, and then Hawk, be my guest if you'd like to start us out.
Oh no, somebody else, please.
Okay.
I'll read, but I don't have a copy.
I thought we've already covered 205.
Did you read both? I
Yeah.
left early, and I only put down.
Yeah, we read a
204.
few because we had time.
So I think we read 206 as well. It was about his trip to Holland.
Okay, hold on.
Where he had that, what was it, mushroom soup or something?
Maggot soup on the menu.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. So, so we're going to letter 207. Let me just pull this up so I've got this on the notes. And I will have to amend the notes, but you don't have them posted anyway, so I'll make sure that you get the correct
Okay.
version with letters 205,
Thank you.
206, 204, 205, 206. You guys read the 3 letters last time. And
Yeah.
we will only have time for one. But thank you all for the discussion. It's a robust
Well, and it was
discussion.
the season finale, so we'll have room next meeting because
That's
it's going to
true.
be
More
months before the
ruminations.
next. Yeah.
I want to watch all of them through when you know ahead of time.
Yeah, me too.
You have
Because they can pick up more
yeah,
subtleties and
so,
stuff.
Yeah. Thank you for letting us spoil.
And vent.
Talk and I, we would have been like,
Heads exploding.
that's exploding for
Yeah.
sure.
I think your head's already exploded.
Yeah, possibly. Okay, so why don't we have maybe Anthony start and then Corey continue?
Which letter?
Letter 207.
I don't have.
I feel like we've read
I'm
this
gonna
one
read it
already.
for you.
Didn't we read this one, Hawk, last time? Because it's talking about an animated adaptation of The Lord of the
Yeah.
Rings. Yeah, I think we read 207.
Yep.
So let's go to
Wow.
208.
Yeah, we had a little.
I don't see anything in 207 about an animated
Well,
207 from Letter to Rain. huh?
Zimmerman storyline.
Oh yeah, we did read that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Boromir for Boromir.
Yeah.
Radagast becomes an eagle. What?
Yeah.
He
What
was
is
not
this
happy.
abomination?
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're going to letter 208.
Okay, letter 208. From a letter to C. U-Boter, Vorhove, and Dietrich Rotterdam. April 10th, 1958. As for message, I have none really, if by that is meant the conscious purpose in writing The Lord of the Rings, of preaching or of delivering myself a vision of truth specially revealed to me. I was primarily writing an exciting story in an atmosphere and background such as I find personally attractive. But in such a process, inevitably one's own taste, ideas, and beliefs get taken up. Though it is only in reading the work myself, with criticisms in mind, that I become aware of the dominance of the theme of death. Not that there is any original message in that. Most of human art and thought is similarly preoccupied. But certainly death is not an enemy. I said, or meant to say, that the message was the hideous peril of confusing true immortality with limitless serial longevity. Freedom from time and clinging to time. The confusion is the work of the enemy, and one of the chief causes of human disaster. Compare the death of Aragorn with a ringwraith. The elves call death the gift of God to men. Their temptation is different, towards a fainéant melancholy, burdened with memory, leading to an attempt to halt time.
Well, that's a strange word. Fainéant.
Fainéant.
Fainéant. I'll have to look that one up.
An idle or ineffective person?
Is that what
Idle or ineffective, yes.
Oh,
From the
wow.
French, néant, meaning nothing.
Okay. So a kind of a useless melancholy?
Yeah. Ineffective, yeah.
Ineffective. Okay.
Yeah.
Any comments on letter 208?
Well, I mean, I feel like I'm getting too theological, but the idea that death is a gift is the idea that a lot of times the longer lives of the elves, one of the things that was problematic is how slow they are about getting things done. I'm not saying that death is the great thing to force us to do stuff, but it gives us a short amount of time. It also cuts off in the long run if pride gets to us and we end up becoming too set in our ways. The closer we get to the end of our life, the more we're forced to change.
Which I think can be a good thing, because it helps us to remember that we have to think, what is my legacy? What do I want to leave behind? I've been
Yeah.
talking with my dad about this a lot.
Yeah.
You know, when you get to a later stage of life, it maybe you are a little bit more reflective. But if you're trying to desperately preserve, like if you're trying to desperately halt the passage of time, you aren't necessarily being able to give that wisdom. You know, I think that's something he explores a lot.
Yeah.
Well, you might say there's a
and
parallel in the remaking of the world, even as that death and the remaking of the world are somehow equivalent in so many ways.
Yeah, and I think death makes life more meaningful in a way. Because can you imagine if we all lived forever? I mean, there'd be no reason to get out of bed in the morning, you know, or have any purpose to our lives almost.
Well, I think it's hard for us, isn't it?
Yeah, And I think that's what the downfall of Numenor was all about, because the Numenorians kept trying to cling to life, and they were not grateful for the gift they had been given by the Valar in an already expansive lifespan.
Sure. Well, like it says here, limitless serial longevity. The elves were not immortal. And I think Tolkien's view of immortality is not this life lengthened forever, which could actually be pretty horrible, possibly.
Yeah.
Chronic pain, whatever, you know what I mean? Or even if it's, like the elves trying to stop time. But more like this vision of death and then a life after, which is the way it is meant to be, or an ideal life, a beautiful life, the good, the true, and the beautiful being unhindered. Because in this life, it's pretty hard for us to imagine if I just live forever. We kind of take all these things that we have, and it makes we think of the boredom, we think of all the downsides of these things, because we really have a hard time imagining an immortality that is actually better and better. But I think Tolkien would have said, yeah, that is possible, because his view of immortality was after death.
Well, Morgoth proves that immortality, and so physical serial living isn't equivalent to true life.
Yes.
Because even though Morgoth was eternal, he wasn't considered. He wasn't living a very good life, and I would doubt to call that immortality the way that it was intended.
Gary, did you have
Yeah,
something?
well, I'm
to say?
thinking that I keyed on the comment about the elves say death is the gift of God because they lived for thousands of years. And, one thing that you said, Brian, was how do you deal with the boredom? You've seen everything. How do you keep your motivation up? And I think that would be, it might be very difficult to do that, because you've seen everything, done everything, whatever, within your own limitations. So
Kind of the ennui of a vampire.
Yeah.
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 The vampire's got, if you're a vampire, you got other problems too.
Yeah, but living for a couple 100,000 years or whatever.
Yeah, and
And your diet kind of sucks. But.
But that's a great comparison, Corey. I hadn't thought about that. That's a good point. Of something just living a long time doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing. Hawk, any last thoughts on that?
No.
Okay. Well, I think.
I mean, I've that whole arc and death and everything I've covered many times.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Letter 209 is actually quite long. I think we need to save it for next time. But Corey, I did say you could read something, so I feel like I should.
The last word on the.
Well, no, it's just that this last letter was very brief. I thought there'd be more to it.
Well, that's okay.
But I was wondering if maybe you could just read off a few of the things, kind of that maybe kind of BCE, kind of that. What are some of the ancient sources that we can dig into next time when we talk, like in our next meeting? Influences on Tolkien.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Homer is an obvious one, but but then every person in the West who's done any sort of literature knows Homer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I would say that even Shakespeare knew Homer probably.
So you're saying that our age in general is less knowledgeable than the past?
Yes, I would say that.
That's
guilty as charged.
A statement.
Yeah.
We talk about people like Plato, but I don't think most of us has ever read.
I've read Plato.
Well, yes, but
I've got the whole great works there.
I've got his complete works.
Except for the 10 of us that are here, the likelihood that large amounts of people read Plato, I don't know too many people that read Plato on a regular basis.
It's still, you're right, on a regular basis. It's still in many colleges required reading.
Any liberal arts degree, it's required.
Yeah, but
how long that
one of those books that you do the homework and then you never remember anything.
What's that, Gary?
Sorry.
That's okay.
Tolkien had,
I can hear it as well. What was that last comment, Gary?
Oh, I was saying that, yeah, I'm sorry, I was getting comfortable again. It was part of the classic education of the time that, well-to-do people all got. I mean, where did Tolkien go to school? Did he go, I forget, did he go to Eton or?
No.
He went to King Edward's Grammar School,
Yeah,
I believe.
King Edward's Grammar School, and then he went to
Oxford. Yeah.
Exeter College.
Yeah.
Okay, so, I mean, he had a classical education,
Oh,
and you
yes.
could see that.
Yeah.
And everything about it. So he would be familiar with not only Homer, but
Oh, yeah,
probably Plato and
So
Socrates.
we'll deal with Homer, the Iliad, the Odyssey. I mean, we'll just kind of
Yeah.
look for connections.
Yeah.
We'll look at Plato and some of his writings and how they may be influenced, and Virgil as well, and then the Bible as well. Obviously, the Old and New Testament.
Yeah.
We've
and
never delved into his whole reaction to what's his name, the Middle English guy that he has such an attitude about. Chaucer.
The Middle
We've
English
never
guy.
actually
Chaucer.
delved into that. Yeah.
The Middle English
We always
guy.
mention it.
Yeah, I know.
We've never delved into his Chaucer thing.
Yeah.
That's because Chaucer was more of a satirist.
We
than-
do have Chaucer on the list.
Yes. Did
So
I
we'll
put,
get
did I
to
put him down?
Chaucer later on.
Did I put
All
him
right,
down there?
cool.
You did. You
Okay,
did.
good.
So we'll deal next time with ancient sources.
Great.
So the
And then I
Greek.
think after that, it would be natural to go
Does,
to Beowulf and
Yeah.
the Eddas and the sagas.
does
Yeah.
he ever mention bullfinches?
Oh.
Who, Tolkien?
So,
Yeah.
so maybe we should include just not only the original authors, but even,
Secondary kind of
well,
sources.
yeah, like secondary, like Edith Hamilton or Bullfinch or
Yeah.
whatever.
Bullfinch is what I read
Yeah,
in
yeah.
high school.
Okay, so basically his kind of talking about mythology,
Yeah.
which actually is a great point because I don't think we have the Poetic Edda on here. We have,
talk about Grimm's?
Oh.
I'll put that down.
I think he has talked about Grimm's.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
He
we
didn't. He didn't.
Maybe
He didn't
we could
enjoy
add-
Grimm's quite
maybe
as
add
much.
mythology and
Yeah.
and
Yeah, I'll work on that today.
and yeah, Brothers Grimm. If you could just kind of add that on. Okay, well, it is
So plenty of
3:02.
material.
Any last comments?
Oh, yeah, let me check. I believe there were some parting comments. Get back to the right page. I have a lot of browser pages open. Oh shoot, where'd it go?
After this.
Almost there. Okay. Where is it?
I should have brought my charger, but I thought it would.
Okay. From the chat room. Thanks so much, gentlemen! Exclamation mark. I had to cook for the family before I could go hiking. Thanks for a great stream.
Wow.
Thank you.
So
That's very nice.
We're so glad you could join us, and hope you
and
will
what was
next
the
time.
name of the
That was Moni MONI space G
okay, so MONI
space
underscore
G.
G.
I just see a space. I don't
Only
know.
G. Okay.
And hopefully they will join us. We're back on Saturdays. Third Saturdays from
That's
1
the
to
one.
3 p.m. Oh, I'm running so many shows. Third Saturdays of each month from 1 to 3
November the
p.m.
19th.
Pacific time.
Yes.
November the 19th.
So November 19th is the
Yep.
next one. So not long before Thanksgiving.
Remember your dental appointments. You're so busy.
Luckily, I have strong teeth, so I get away with it. So 1 to 3 p.m. Pacific time,
Right.
youtube.com/Tolkien Scholars. Our website is tolkienscholars.org. That's where we upload our notes. You can see all the past years and years and years and years and years of links and notes and topics we've covered, the videos associated with it going back at least 12, 15 years. Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
We've been recording and broadcasting for a long time on
Wow.
this, so and we're slowly getting better equipment finally.
Yeah.
We're set up. We are not hasty.
No.
We slowly chew through everything.
Can we
Oh, we
just
did our
quickly-
end. We did our end crawl.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
just briefly
Go.
mention. So we went to Natural 20.
Yep, one
Oh, I've
of
been
one of
there.
their two locations.
Yeah.
The
I thought it
one
was
by
okay.
Monroe.
Did you
plan to
No,
get-
Howard.
We
Howard and-
reviewed some of those beverages.
Yep, we did
play
a
any games?
flight. What's that?
We did
You
not
play
play
any?
games.
You
No.
play any
Yeah.
games?
You
We were near the
beverages,
closing
means
time,
multiple
so-
beverages?
Oh, okay.
But let's put up a couple of our flyers for RPG research and RPG therapeutics and stuff.
Yep.
And
We tried to sell
we
them.
did a flight of their beverages to try out, and
Yep.
we found
There's
some we
only
liked
one
and
that
some
we
we
really
didn't.
liked, but
Yeah,
there
the
may be some other
stout.
ones. Yeah, the stout was good.
Sample.
But yeah, and it sounds like they're trying to recruit professional game masters to run games there and stuff that they'll pay
Nice.
for. So we'll see how that
Something might come
evolves.
of it.
Yep. They haven't reached out to us about that, but they are looking for people. Yeah, so we'll be back again next week, and TolkienScholars.org. We're also on Twitter. We don't bother with Facebook anymore, but our website's the main place to go, TolkienScholars.org. So thank you all for joining. It's wonderful to have you all here. It's wonderful to get all of your insights. Those of you viewing as well, thank you so much. Wherever you may be well, Namarie.
Namarie.
Oh, yay.
Yeah.